Welcome to Fresh Catholic, a podcast for those who are converting, reverting, or simply want a fresh perspective of the Catholic faith to help them to open their hearts and minds to become closer to the love and goodness of Christ. My daily prayer is that I will be a bright light to others, to be filled with the love and light of Christ, so that when people look at me, they see Him radiating out from me for His glory. Hello and welcome. I'm Lori Balderas, and I'm so happy you're here. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been hurt or wronged by someone? Have you ever hurt or wronged someone? I'll bet the answer is yes to both. It's bound to happen at one time or another because, well, we're all human and we make mistakes. I know I'm definitely guilty of hurting people, which we will get to in just a little bit. If you haven't guessed already, this week's topic is forgiveness. The definition of forgiveness, according to Wikipedia, is the choice that a person makes to forgive another person for an offense, for something that is illegal or immoral. Forgiveness is intentional and voluntary. When someone forgives someone else, they let go of negative emotions. For example, vengefulness. They wish their offender well. In the Bible, the Greek word translated forgiveness literally means to let go. 490 times in the Bible, it tells us we should forgive someone. That's a lot. It is written in Ephesians 4, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you." Jesus said in Matthew 6, "If you forgive others their transgressions, your heavenly Father will forgive you. But if you do not forgive others, neither will your Father forgive your transgressions." In Matthew 18, Peter asked Jesus, "Lord, if my brother sins against me, how often must I forgive him? As many as 7 times?" Jesus answered, "I say to you, not 7 times, but 77 times. In Luke 6, Jesus says, "Stop judging and you will not be judged. Stop condemning and you will not be condemned. Forgive and you will be forgiven." In Luke 17, Jesus says to his disciples, "Things that cause sin will inevitably occur, but woe to the person through whom they occur. It would be better for him if a millstone were put around his neck and he be thrown into the sea, than for him to cause one of these little ones to sin. Be on your guard. If your brother sins, rebuke him, and if he repents, forgive him. And if he wrongs you 7 times in one day, and returns to you 7 times saying, 'I'm sorry,' you should forgive him." In Mark 11, Jesus says, "When you stand to pray, forgive anyone against whom you have a grievance, so that your heavenly Father may in turn forgive you your transgressions." 3 of the greatest examples of forgiveness in the Bible are when Joseph forgave his brothers who sold him into slavery. When Jesus was dying on the cross, he forgave all who crucified him. He said, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." When Stephen, being unjustly stoned to death, extended the gesture of forgiveness to those that murdered him. All very important words and things to think about, because forgiveness, when I think of forgiveness, I certainly think of Jesus and all the forgiving he's done. And there is no better person in the history of the world that teaches forgiveness better than Jesus Christ, our Lord. He is the poster boy for forgiveness, and we should all follow what he has taught us. He passed this on to his apostles who, this has now gone down for over 2,000 years into the priests today. It's just really something to think about, that imagine having Jesus in front of you, forgiving you, but every time you go into confession, like we've talked about in a previous episode, the priest is acting in the place of Christ. So it's an amazing thing to be forgiven. So I would like to talk about my history of forgiveness. I used to have a very unforgiving nature. I was a very unforgiving person. And I was a huge grudge holder. If somebody wronged me, once wronged, forever done. That's how I felt about them. I'm not saying that it was okay. I'm just telling you the truth, that this is how I used to be. And I was very strict with that. And sadly, this is what I've taught my children. My children were taught that if somebody wrongs you, that's it, cut them out. I didn't really think about it in any other way. It was what it was. And now that I look back on it, I don't like that about my past, and I don't like that about how I raised my children. That's a regret of mine and a mistake. I'm not happy about that at all. Some people in my past definitely have felt the brunt of this. In a previous episode, I spoke about, I've been married. I'm on my third husband. So the first husband, when I was very young, he was a drug addict and he used to physically abuse me. And that was really hard on myself and my family. And for years, I was very mad at him, obviously, and I was afraid of him, and I didn't want to forgive him. I mean, he really hurt me physically and emotionally. I just never wanted to forgive him. However, things changed after I became Catholic, and it just so happened that I got invited to a barbecue. And when I pulled into the barbecue, I could see that my ex-husband was there, my first husband. And I thought to myself, okay, how do I feel about this? I prayed and I thought, I'm okay. I'm going to just go into this barbecue. And I had a lot of friends there. And when I got out of the car, everybody was staring at me like, uh-oh, how's this going to go? What's she going to do here? They all knew the history. They all knew what was going to happen. I don't think they realized we were both going to be at this same event. And I think he even was thinking, uh-oh, how's this going to go? I mean, I am known for my hot temper. So I waved at him and said hello. And I actually felt fine. And I just didn't want to be mad at him anymore. And I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to retaliate. I had nothing angry to say to him. I just went throughout the day. It was very pleasant. We had small talk, and then I left, and I just thought, gosh, I could have never done that before. I could have never had that attitude. And it was because I believe I'm a different person now, and I just didn't want to be angry at him anymore. It's in the past. I just was pleased that the Lord gave me that strength to do that. I guess if he would have come at me aggressively, I might have handled things in a different way. But I just wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he had grown and changed and wasn't the same person. I know I'm not the same person. I mean, the old me could have come rolled in and just gone up to him and just had my way with them. That's why I prayed. I just said, Lord, just help me to be kind and not ruin the day. I wanted to see the rest of my friends, and just give him the grace of, I just want to give it a chance because, I think that helped him too. I don't think he's the same person today. I hope he's not. And I wish him well. And I just don't want to be mad at him and fight with him anymore. It's in the past.
We'll be right back.
Rising anti-Semitism. New generations redefining how they connect with Jewish traditions. Changing dynamics among Jews around the globe. Take a deep dive into these topics and more on Mosaic, Exploring Jewish Issues, the podcast brought to you by the Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County. Hear from the thought leaders, politicians, scholars, and artists at the forefront of Jewish life today. Subscribe to Mosaic, Exploring Jewish Issues, wherever you listen to podcasts.
So anyway, I thought that was good. I also had a problem a long time ago now with my sister. I only have one sister. We had a family issue a long time ago. I won't get into the details except to say that there were things that I felt she wasn't doing that were good for our family. I tried to address them with her in a kind way and was met with much resistance, so much that it literally severed our relationship for, I want to say, over 20 years. I had no interest in working things out with her after she made a decision that I felt was breaking our whole entire family apart. I wanted nothing to do with her. I was very mean and hostile and aggressive about it. I would publicly aggress on her. I would also privately do that. It was not good. And it went on and on and on and on for years. And I know she wanted to try to work it out. I wanted nothing of it. It really was heartbreaking to my mother, especially. My dad was trying to be more neutral, but it was very devastating to our relationship. And I didn't handle it in a very great way. She kind of ended up backing off, and which was good. I think I needed, some time. We tried to work it out a little bit through letters, but she didn't want to take ownership for her role in the demise of our family. And so I just didn't want anything of it or her. And then years later, just like even as recently as maybe 3 years ago, I changed my thoughts about it. And I just thought, I just don't want to be mad anymore. I just don't want to be upset with her. And I want to try to understand why maybe she did what she did all those years ago. So I started reaching out to her in very small ways, just like texting her happy birthday or Merry Christmas, just light and airy, but at least to kind of like put out an olive branch for her to realize that I was maybe softening, because she definitely knew how angry and upset I was. So I just thought this was kind of my soft way of trying to test the waters. And she was very kind back, and that kind of went on for a couple years. And then we actually had to go take care of our mother at the same time. And I just went in with the attitude of, we love our mother, we're here to take care of her. I just did not want to be in an angry state. And so it just relieved such a burden on me. I hope it relieved a burden on her. It's not that we're like best friends or anything, but we're taking steps, I feel, that are towards healing and towards just kindness. It took me far too long to get to that point. But again, I would have never gotten to this point if I wouldn't have gone, I'm going to confession for other things and asking for forgiveness. And, I want people to forgive me. I want to also reciprocate that, and so I think that's been something that has been good for both of us. It also, I think, makes my mother feel better. Obviously, I don't even think she really realizes that we're maybe interacting as much as we are. So that's just been something that, took a really long time, but I'm glad we're making progress there. So anyway, I think the entire way I think about forgiving and things have just changed so remarkably. I can only give credit to my relationship with Jesus. If there is not a better role model than Jesus in forgiveness, I don't know who it is, because I think if that's one of the big reasons God, sent him to walk among us and have such an impact on us even to today, that's been one of the most stellar things. I just am trying to always come from a more forgiving place these days. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be thinking negatively about things and situations. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy to not remember things that have hurt me or things like that. It's just that I don't want to be angry at people anymore. There's some people I'm still working on that with, where I have some bitterness, I have some resentment, I have some struggles. I go to confession about it. It doesn't make me feel good. I'm working on it. I'm human. I'm not saying, oh, there's been this magic wand and now I'm Catholic and now I forgive everybody and now I love everybody. I'm working on it. There's some people that are giving me a run for my money, but ultimately my goal is, and I pray for these people and myself every day. I pray, please help me to not be bitter and angry and resentful. Please help me to soften, my thoughts about these situations and these people. Please help me because I need help. That's what I do every day. A lot of these people that I just said who I felt have wronged me, they've never apologized to me for any wrongdoing or the hurt they've caused me, but I've quit waiting for that. If that's what I have to do to forgive them or to feel better or to move forward in a more loving way, I don't want to wait for that because I'm putting that on somebody else then. I just have to forgive them for myself and for them. I just don't want to wait for them to reciprocate. And honestly, there's just no better feeling than to forgive somebody. It not only lifts like a heavy weight off of yourself, but I think it relieves the other person. I don't know how it couldn't. I know when somebody's forgiven me and they'll give me a hug or something, I just feel almost like I'm melting in a good way. Like, maybe that's not the right term. I just feel so grateful that they, it's just a weight off of me. You should try to do that for someone else. I know I have definitely hurt other people. I've been accused of being a lion, a tiger, a bulldozer. That's caused a big problem in my life and in my family. I have said things that are very mean, very aggressive, very harsh, very horrible. I've been angry to the point of throwing things, breaking things, slamming things. All these things I admit and I know I've done them and I know they've hurt people. I know they've scared people. I know they've broken and severed relationships. I have a real sharp mouth. I have a real sharp tongue. I have a real hot temper. All these things I'm working on. So I take ownership for things I've done. I think everybody should take ownership when they've done something to hurt someone else. That's also a really good thing to do. It's also a really freeing thing to do, is to say, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry I scared you. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I said something that devastated you. It's really good to admit those things to the person and to apologize. And when you apologize, be very sincere about it. Don't just say, I'm sorry. Don't be flip about it. Mean it. It's just like when you go to confession, mean it. God's watching you every second. So I know that I've tried to work out these problems with these people. I've tried apologizing. I've tried asking, if we can get together and try to work through it. I would like to be given the opportunity that either I can apologize or I can explain maybe something was a misconception or misinterpreted. I think it's only fair if somebody is able to explain themselves. For example, my sister, years after our original breakup, she did send me a letter explaining to me her side of what had happened. And I had a choice. I could either accept it, believe it, move forward from it or not. I chose not to. Now I look back at that letter and I think, okay, well, I might not agree with what she did or how she did it, but I see why she thinks she had to do what she did. And so, I can live with that. Now I can. I couldn't back then, but now I can. Sometimes you have to agree to disagree with people. Sometimes you have to say, okay, well, I wouldn't have done it that way, or I don't agree with how you did X, Y, and Z, but okay, I can move past it. Other times, I know I've said things to people where it's like, it's very scalding. It's something where they can't quickly get over it. You can't expect somebody to, get this attack and then just immediately let it bounce off of them. That's not being very realistic. When you feel somebody has wronged you, be mad if you want to. I mean, I kind of think you probably should be mad if somebody wrongs you. You are human and you're allowed to have your feelings and not like it. I'm not saying you immediately have to let somebody off the hook when they've wronged you. And I'm not saying you have to condone bad behavior or habitual bad behavior. But if a person apologizes or is sincerely sorry and is trying to change their ways, how about you give them another chance? Like Jesus says, not just one chance, not just 7 chances, 77. And when he's saying that, he's not saying that literally. He's saying you just have to keep forgiving. You just have to keep forgiving. I know it's risky and it might fail. And they might do something wrong again. The odds are they probably will. I know I've said I'm sorry. I know I've gone to confession and I will be really thinking, I can do it this time. I'm going to do great. And then I'll stumble and fall. And I'm human. And I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes because we are human. But you also have to remember that even though the person who's wronged you might do it again, you might fail again too. You might do something, you might stumble and fall too. And you'd like to be forgiven, wouldn't you? I think the answer is yes. I think everybody wants to be forgiven. So I realize that people forgive in their own time, but life is short. Life is short, my friends. You never know when suddenly someone could be taken away from you or, taken out of the world. And do you really want to have anger and bitterness and unforgiveness in your heart? I mean, do you really want that? Do you want unfinished business? Because you probably don't. You're thinking, you might be thinking, I don't care, but you'll care. And it's not easy to forgive people. It's not easy. It's not easy to ask for forgiveness. It's really not. I was in therapy at one point and my therapist was encouraging me to write a letter to my stepdaughter, and I didn't want to write the letter. I was angry and bitter at the time. I didn't want to write it. And she said, I don't want you to write it till you can write the letter in a sincere way and mean what you're saying and actually asking for forgiveness and actually being sorry. So it took a year. It took a year to write the letter. And when I finally wrote it, I was felt really good about it. The priest and deacon even prayed over it. I sent this letter and just wished and prayed for the best. And it was met with basically total, what's the word I want to use? It was basically spit on. It couldn't have been received more horribly. And so I thought, okay, at least I know where I stand. And I tried. And, I sent it with the sincerest intentions. And so I was okay with that. That's not the outcome I wanted, but, it was what it was. The first step of offering an olive branch is very scary. They may take it and break it over their knee or your head, but you have to try. And if they aren't receptive, you just have to give it time. It may never get fixed, but at least you tried. I have to say that letter was written 2 years ago and, was told, I don't want to hear from you ever again. So I honored that. And then just last month, I received a text from the same person who wanted to meet me for lunch. And we had a lovely lunch, and things were very peaceful, and things were very calm, and I felt it couldn't have gone any better. And it didn't fix everything. It doesn't fix all the past hurts, but we both decided that it would be a good thing to peacefully move forward. And I have to tell you, that was a beautiful day and a beautiful relief. And I'm very appreciative that God put his hand in that. So, and my prayers were answered, and I'm not taking it too far. I'm just taking it a step at a time, but that was very amazing. So my final words about this is, if I were you, I would learn to forgive and forget. But if you can't forget, just forgive. Just forgive. It's totally worth it. I promise you. And really, there's no better feeling than to forgive someone. It not only lifts a heavy weight off of you, it relieves the other person as well. Relief is amazing. So, Fresh Catholic News. I know that I just always say this every time, but I'm just going to say it because what if there's new listeners and they don't know? So I am on social media, Instagram at Fresh Catholic, YouTube and Facebook, Fresh Catholic. I have my website, which is freshcatholic.com, and that's where my daily blog is. So I hope you're going and reading that and following me on everything and sharing with your friends. Let's get the word out. I'm trying to throw out a big net. And I just wanted to tell you about really briefly that I had the event at Our Lady of the Assumption Church last month. And it was a small but mighty group, and I felt so happy at the end of the evening. I just got such great feedback and such love and kindness from people, and it just made me light a fire under me even more. So I just want to do more and more speaking events, and I'm just very excited about what the future is going to hold for Fresh Catholic and just evangelizing. I'm just trying to do what I'm being called to do. So thank you for everybody always supporting me, and please reach out to me. We have some great episodes coming up. I'm not going to tell you what next week's is. It's a surprise. So you'll have to tune in. It's the next 2 weeks, actually. So I hope you look forward to that. So thank you. Love you. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. Now go out and be a bright light in someone's life. And remember, be focused, be faithful, and be fresh. Fresh Catholic is recorded at Wonder Mouse Studios at the Castle at Pierpont in Ventura, California. My producer and engineer is Sarah Espel, and she could be yours too. Our podcast studio is available for rent. You can reach us at wondermouse.us or freshcatholic.com.